Bullshit. You didn't think we'd notice that you tried to slip away without paying your check?
I was just going out for some fresh air. I even told the bartender. You can ask her yourself.
Fresh air, huh? On a planet with no atmosphere.
That's enough, Stalker. Lower your weapon. We don't shoot guests over a misunderstanding. Sir, please return to your table. It's bad practice to leave our establishment without paying your bill first. If you need some fresh air, pay up, go outside, and come back in and start a new check when you're ready.
I'm sorry, but I didn't think it would be a problem.
You were wrong. Dead wrong.
That's enough. I think the gentleman understands. Now let's all go back inside, shall we? And Stalker, you and I are going to talk about this later.
I can't wait. I'm in charge of security here, so I'm the last person you want to piss off. Hey, watch out! You cause trouble, and I will not hesitate to end you in any number of ways I see fit. This ain't the United Colonies, Cupcake. Here, you listen to me. I lead the security force. Because we have to deal with the dregs of society, like you. Because May lets us handle things our way. Best way to keep people in line is through fear. After you see your first head split open on the bar floor, you're gonna think twice about skipping out on your tab. Maybe you don't start that fight over your lost bet. You get it now? Call it whatever you want. We're ecliptic mercenaries, so I'd think twice about pissing us off, or else you may find yourself with nowhere to hide. What do you think, moron? Money. May pays us well to keep the assholes out. I make sure my people pretty much get the run of the place. Free booze, free entertainment, you name it. And if anyone's got a problem with it, well, we've got ways of making people disappear.
Hey, you the captain of that ship? Is your registration paperwork in order? Fine. Truth is, I don't really give a damn. I gotta ask, because it's my job, you know? And don't get me wrong. I used to care about running a tight operation. Had everything going nice and smooth. But when May started building this place up and hired those mercs, everything went straight to hell. I voiced my displeasure, and now I'm on the outs. May's security. Bunch of wannabe soldier assholes is more like it. Call themselves ecliptic. They think they're some sort of elite paramilitary unit. I'll tell you what they really are. They're nothing but punks with guns that get off on pushing people around. I get the need for having some security out here. We're independent. That ain't lost on me. But these guys are the worst of the worst. More trouble than they're worth, you know? And not by a little. Yep, she took over a little while ago. Drove out all the regulars because they didn't fit in with her new vision for the place. Now, I'm not saying they were saints, but at least there was some respect for the people whose blood and sweat makes this place work, you know? You'll find her inside. Whatever you're here for, she's probably the one you want to talk to first. Sure has. May, she's got these big ideas about making this place some kind of must-see attraction for the whole settled systems. You'd think she'd care a little bit more about the quality of the damn starport. Anyway, I'm sure you're already sick of my bitching. If you need parts for that ship, or a top-up on the grab drive fuel, that's me.
Listen, Fred, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm trying to relax and you people won't give me a moment's peace. I tell you what, if you want a conversation with me, it'll cost you. Bring me a runner's rush from the bar, and then we can talk. Deal? Do you now? How about you stop pulling my plonker and come back when you've got what I've asked for?
Hi, welcome to Red Mile. We've got clean rooms and neat drinks. Can I help you out with either of those? Or both? Ooh, what about both? Oh, I saw this guy get full on eaten by one of the larger creatures we had out there one time. Just swallowed him up whole in one go. Clearly he was a goner. Not 5 minutes later, after the bets were called and everyone was settling up, the guy bursts out of the thing's stomach and goes on to finish the course. You can imagine that was an interesting night. Just don't imagine what that guy smelled like after, because... Aside from the restaurant and hotel services, we offer full-service starship maintenance and refueling. Just speak to our starport master, Lon Anderson. And don't mind him. He may be a lazy old fart, but when push comes to shove, he gets the job done.
Ah, you again. Please tell me you've got a nice frosty runner's rush from the bar. My cup runneth empty. Ah, most kind. So, what brings you by? Afraid I'm right out of autographed pictures. Well, you really haven't been around much, have you? I'm Donovan Reese. Aye, the Donovan Reese. As in the gent that survived 28 Red Mile runs, including the third fastest on record.
Cryptic mercenaries. They keep demanding free drinks.
Impressive. That's an understatement. We're talking a game of death and dismemberment. Most people don't survive one, let alone as many as I have. You can count on one hand the number of runners ever to pull that off, and only half of them are still alive. It's rare company you're in, to say the least.
If they disagree.
Don't go breaking my record for one. Other than that, don't hesitate. Ever. You hesitate, you spend too much time thinking things through. Well, that's how you get yourself killed out there. I always say the best way to run the course is on pure instinct. You let that take over and drive you, the chances are you'll win. Unless you already know your instincts are shite, in which case, don't run the course at all. Nah, just relish your challenge. I'd still be out there today if my knees and my back won't shot to hell. Besides, I'm retired these days. I think I've earned the chance to enjoy the fruits of my labors. Being famous has its benefits, after all.
Ah, a new face. I wonder, is this the face of a brave runner here to challenge the Red Mile? Or simply one seeking a respite from the burdens of life? My name is May, and I'm the proprietor of this establishment, home of the famous Red Mile. I assume you're familiar. Oh? Let's rectify that then, shall we? You will not find a more exciting blood sport in all the settled systems. The Red Mile is an exciting and deadly race to the finish for the galaxy's bravest champions. Those that manage to complete the course win fame and fortune. Those that don't are never heard from again. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have. In the meantime, please enjoy our world's famous hospitality. Well, it's quite simple, really. Once you register with me, we'll have a little pomp and circumstance before sending you on your way out the big red door. Then it's a race to the buzzer at the other end of the course. You'll deal with obstacles and deadly creatures alike, while people up here place bets on how far you'll get. Make it back alive, and you'll stand to win riches and the admiration of your fans. I'm sure you can figure out what happens if you fail. Just a little introduction we do to get the fans all worked up. The Red Mile is a spectator sport, after all. Most people don't complete the course, so this is a way to give those unfortunate souls a proper send-off while they can still appreciate it. You're too precious! Yes, of course they bet on our runners' lives. We're outside of the colonies and Freestars for a reason. Betting is a huge part of the Red Mile's appeal. How better to make the most exciting sport in the universe more exciting? Repeat runners draw bigger bets. You should ask Donovan how much bets on him were worth before he was forced to retire. Of course. And if you're thinking of running, just let me know. I'll be glad to sign you up. rather open-ended question, but I'll do my best. Red Mile was once a notorious haven for the criminal underworld. Thieves, shipjackers, mercenaries, and smugglers would come here to do business, get drunk, and gamble. I cleaned the place up when I took over. I made it, if not quite a family destination, at least a safer one. Red Mile still offers a unique, exciting experience, but our clientele has improved considerably, and we offer a wider range of services. I was fortunate to be born into a wealthy family. I used those resources to build an extensive network of contacts across the settled systems. Suffice it to say, I had to call in more than a few favors, but with patience and perseverance, I was able to realize my vision. And now, at last, Red Mile is truly a must-see destination for any who wish to experience it for themselves. Because I see the potential for Red Mile to become one of the most unique and popular travel destinations in the settled systems. Because I want to leave a legacy and be remembered for creating something as unique as it is lucrative. Or perhaps it's because, like so many runners who come here to test themselves, I relish a challenge. I suppose there's no single reason. Let's just say that I feel it's my calling. Ah, a fresh runner! We love rookies around here. No one ever knows how they're going to do out there, so it makes for interesting wages. But the Red Mile is not for the weak and faint of heart. Do you fully understand that by participating in a run, there is risk to life and limb? Good. And are you able to confirm that you are of sound mind, not under the influence of any substances, and not under any form of coercion? Need to? No. But it helps me sleep better at night, knowing I'm not sending unwitting participants to their death. We get drunkards, and Aurora fiends thinking they're invincible all the time. It almost never ends well for them. And you'd be surprised how often someone is forced to run in order to pay off a debt or some other ill-begotten arrangement. Very well, then. Step aside and we'll announce your run. After the introduction, you'll want to head down the elevator. Then, you're on your own. Use whatever tools necessary to survive. Run to the beacon and activate it. Then make it back here for your prize. For what it's worth, I hope you succeed. My. You did not disappoint us in your first run. Your performance down there was most impressive. I do hope you'll consider competing with us again. A successful win demands my appreciation. Please, take your reward. You've certainly earned it.
Ma'am, I'm just a courier.
I understand that. I'm not blaming you directly. Dr. Salvato, how long have you been here?
About a year now, Doctor.
And in that year, how many times have we had this conversation about late or missing shipments of supplies?
I believe this is the third time.
Yes, that sounds right. 3 times. I will be making it very clear to your superiors that lives are at stake, and the clinic requires reliable transport. If your company cannot meet our needs, someone else will.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Thank you, Dr. Salvato. You may return to your duties.
Not exactly a hotbed of criminal activity here, is it? Well, that suits me fine. Well, let's see now. I joined up in 2292, so that'd be 38 years now? Damn. Hard to believe, now that I think about it. Almost 40 years. There ain't been many Rangers who served that long, I can promise you that. Well, offhand, I can only think of two. Cassie Hickson made it to 42 years before she caught a bullet from one of them Shaw gang boys. He got himself all liquored up at Aggie's. That's over in Aquila City. Started using the passers-by for target practice. Then there was old Rusty Ortega. Had a good run of 52 years and retired to a farm on Montara Luna. Passed away just a few years back. I suppose I don't think much about it, but when I stop to count the years, well, they sure do add up.
Welcome to the clinic. I'm Dr. Darvish, Chief of Medicine. Is there something I can do for you? I thought perhaps the name gave it away. This is one of the preeminent medical care centers in the Settle systems. We take our work very seriously. Are you? Because I don't have any appointments scheduled. We have a particular focus on astrovirology here. So the patients we take on tend to have unusual cases that require long-term care, and sometimes require unorthodox or experimental treatments. We have an excellent track record that speaks for itself, but it doesn't leave room for much else. Whatever business you may be here for, I trust that you will conduct it quickly, and do so without interfering with my staff or our operations. I am, yes. I took over from Dr. Eswaran when he retired 9 years ago. While the clinic does occasionally take on research projects that have their own chain of command, I am ultimately responsible for the entire facility. The clinic has occasionally been faced with unique situations that might be considered hazardous in other facilities, but no, nothing that could not be contained and dealt with. I'm afraid that information is confidential and restricted to our corporate partners funding the projects. Certainly. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of new worlds that humanity has set foot on. While many don't host some sort of life, there are more than enough that do. Any one of those worlds could be inhabited by all manner of pathogens, things we've never seen and have no idea how to treat. Someone has to try and stay ahead of what could be a very deadly curve. Here at the clinic, we do our best. If we do it right, no, not usually. An abundance of safety protocols are in place, and we have decades of experience. Ironically, this may be one of the safest environments in the Settle systems. Would you now? Well, I suppose we could always use additional research specimens. The more data we have about what's out there in the Settle systems, the faster we can diagnose novel illnesses. In theory, at least. I suppose we could consider you an independent contractor of sorts. We've made progress with alien biosuppressants, helping to prevent secondary infections when treating patients, but we could stand to learn more. If you could collect some additional samples, we'd be grateful. What we're looking for are basic organic substances. They could come from any number of flora or fauna on countless worlds across the Settled systems. Just keep your eyes open as you travel and harvest things when you find them. Or frankly, if you can find them at a reasonable price somewhere, purchase them. I'm less concerned with the source than the materials themselves.
Last few errors are out of the system. Means I got about 10 minutes till something breaks again. Oh, you're not familiar? I'll give you the quick version. UC built the station back in 2194. It was outside of their established territory, which caused a bit of a disagreement and a bit of a war. And after what I think most people would agree was much too long a period of time, the war ends. One of the terms was the station was handed over to the Freestar Collective.
Any guesses what's being worked on in the secure wing? Any interest in asking the guards?
Never really thought about it that way. Guess you're right. Although, is that really irony? I feel like I don't really understand what qualifies. So since then, the clinic's been under Freestar Collective control. Over 100 years now, I think. Over time, it started to focus more on weird things people picked up on all sorts of planets and space expeditions, became known for it, and now focuses on it almost exclusively. And here we are today, carrying on that work. Actually makes me feel kind of proud when I lay it all out like that. Well, yeah, somebody has to. It's great medical care, but not the latest in support tech. Funding only goes so far, and most of it's prioritized for keeping patients alive. And there's still a lot of outdated UC tech behind the walls that needs interfacing, so I stay plenty busy. You know, I used to. Then I realized I could catch something just about anywhere, and if I did, this would be about the safest place in the galaxy to be. So, I feel like it kind of all evens out. Well, then I'd be out of a job, wouldn't I? You're not entirely wrong, though. But someone would have to convince Dr. Darvish it was a priority, and I gave up on that effort years ago.
Mind your step. Floors in here can be a bit slick at times. Don't ask why. Oh, sure. Everyone is really great. Top of their game, medically speaking. I've learned so much these last few years. I try not to take any of it for granted. This career, helping people, it really means something. Oh, we're not really supposed to talk about that kind of thing. Doctor-patient confidentiality and all that. Dr. Darvish is pretty strict about that. Well, about everything, but definitely that.
Doctors still don't know when we'll be okay to leave. Well, I think it's all right, seeing as how my brother and I would be dead if we never came here. Doctors are nice enough, treatments aren't too bad, and food's all right. That doesn't mean I'm not counting down the days until we can leave. I'm itching to go back home. That I am. I'm lucky to be alive, apparently. Me and my brother here have been patients for going on, 4 or 5 months now? Good Lord. I, being the stronger and smarter one, am recovering quickly. Still sick as a dog, but the doctors let me roam around to visit my infirm brother here. He was in a coma for months. He's only now making some sort of recovery. This genius brother of mine was begging me to go on a hike with him on Aquila. He's a real outdoorsy type, you know. Now, being a man of letters, I didn't want to go, but he just kept yapping. So we go on this hike, right? We don't know where the hell we're going. Well, we got lost, stranded with no food or water. I told him to pack food and water, but the fool forgot. Well, we start scavenging for some food to sustain us, and we come across this thing, like a plant, but I don't know what the hell the damn thing was. Looked tasty enough, so we ate it. Well, the damn thing nearly killed us both. Turns out we weren't even that far from the city, so we were found by some passerby, and here we are. We got real lucky. Oh, we weren't even that desperate. We had 3 meals that day, and I was cramping because we didn't wait long enough after supper to take the hike. But when you're out there in the wilderness, you can't pass up a single calorie. You must engorge yourself whenever able. I read that in a book.
You're early. Well, yeah, this package ain't gonna deliver itself. This is your first time, so I'll let it slide, but you're not supposed to ask what's in the package. Your handler should have made it clear, delivering this package is your errand. Don't waste your time on anything else. What, they didn't tell you? Because they sure as hell didn't tell me. All I know is, if you don't deliver it, they'll send someone after you for sure. Here, I trust you know what to do with it.
You went to a lot of effort to find me. Goddamn Gallbank. Will they ever give up? I'm gonna give you one chance. Leave. Let some other errand boy do Gallbank's dirty business. Otherwise, it's not gonna end well for you, my friend. Why the hell would I do that? This isn't getting us anywhere. All right, look, I'd like to help, but... I never said I was done talking. All right, all right. Took me ages to collect this. But I just want a decent night's sleep. And here, debt repaid. Now get the hell out of here.
Oh, hello there. Are you here about the brownouts? That's usually the only reason people come up here to talk to me, since I'm the power system manager here. Oh. Yep, I get it all right. Yes, I'm in charge of the electrical power here. We generate a lot of wind-based power here on Titan, which is my specialty, so I was tapped to help navigate all the unique challenges we face here. Shocking, I know. Yes, the power shortages we're experiencing. Haven't you seen the flickering lights? This equipment is all very old, and the protections against the cold have worn down, so now, brownouts, all the time. And I get to deal with it. Hooray for me. You have no idea. Worse, I'm stuck up here overseeing the whole system, and we don't currently have anyone available to go out there and take care of the problem. Well, I just started this job a few months ago, but I'm loving it, despite all the small frustrations of working on ancient equipment. I came here as a child and did one of the tours. I loved it so much, I jumped at the chance to come back after finishing my studies in energy science. I know it may sound unusual, but I knew what I was getting into with Titan's harsh surface. The challenge is actually one of the things that attracted me to the job. Did you see those huge wind turbines out there on your way in? They're our primary source of power generation. Titan's strong winds provide an almost constant source of power, as long as we can keep the machinery from icing over. No, New Atlantis, born and raised. It's okay though. I've always liked this quaint little moon. Not that it's actually that little as far as moons go. The people here were a little wary of someone coming in from the outside, but once I changed my name in accordance with their local customs, it went a long way to build trust. And that was fine by me. I feel proud, taking on the name of the Earth City my family came from many, many years ago. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm a little new to the job, and I'll admit I'm struggling a little bit. I could use some help. So I really want to impress everyone and show them I can handle this. But the power equipment is ancient and in need of replacement, if I'm being honest. We just don't have the money in the budget right now to do it. The previous technician was adamant that it was better to repair than replace. So he never submitted any replacement plans for budget considerations. We have to wait for next year. I could use someone who's handy with a laser cutter to break up the ice that's formed on some of the power system machinery out there. That should clear up the shorts we've been experiencing and stop the brownouts. Does that sound like something you can do? Oh, thank you. I guess I'm lucky you showed up then. Just be careful not to hurt yourself or the equipment. I'll continue to monitor things from here.
Hello there. Welcome to the new Homestead Chunks. We've got all your Chunks' favorites. Well, almost all of them. Sadly, we're out of the special sauce. I know. But everything else is still that great Chunks food you know and love. So, what can I do for you? You know I do. And what's not to love? It's delicious, nutritious, easy, fast, inexpensive. It sure makes my hungry belly sing for joy. And my wife thinks I eat too much Chunks food, but I just can't help myself. It's so good. Well, people gotta eat, you know? But seriously, I think we're just starting to get with the times a little. And I can't think of a better restaurant than Chunks to usher that in. I think corporate just saw New Homestead as an untapped market. Yeah, the locals may not eat it, but the tourists love having a taste of home. Oh, you had to go and ask the hard questions, huh? How can I pick just one? Well, there's chicken chunks, beef chunks, potato chunks, cheesesteak chunks, cheesecake chunks. You know what? I'm gonna cheat if you don't mind, and just say I love them all equally. If I'm completely honest, it is. And people are always saying how this chunks can't compare to the real deal. And I just know it's because we never had that mouth-watering sauce. I've been in contact with some of the other restaurants out there, and they'll give me some, but they say they can't afford to send it, and I don't have a ship, so what am I to do? For real, good question. Now, they haven't said, but I think it has something to do with them prioritizing other chunks over mine. I guess it's made at a different facility than our other food, and they don't even want to pay the shipping cost to ship from another store to ours. Yeah, sometimes I get lucky and a cargo hauler passes through with a route that takes them near other chunks and back again, but there's no guarantee. You bet it is. You may not hear people talk about it, but trust me, it's the secret ingredient. It's like the glue that holds it all together. I mean, not literally. I'm not saying it's glue or that our food falls apart. It's delightful. Tangy, savory, it's a little sweet, but not too sweet. And I've noticed that once people find out we don't have it, sometimes they don't return. It's the reason business isn't as good as other chunks. Wait, for real? You do that? You're not pulling my leg? Oh, yeah, right. I actually just got a message back from another chunks before you got here, and they got a case ready to go for me. Just tell them you're there to pick it up for me, and it should be good to go. Thanks.
Hello there. Are you here to peruse our little museum exhibit?
Just like the rest of New Homestead.
Well, I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime, and...
I could see how that might not be clear, given that it's displayed in the main concourse here. But if you take a look, you'll notice our collection of rare Earth antiquities salvaged from before the collapse. It's quite the unique glimpse into our past. If you have any questions about the exhibit or New Homestead, I'm happy to answer as best as I can.
Kids, little troublemakers. I'll tell the guests to be more careful.
It's an interesting story. New Homestead began as a scientific research base called the Titan Astrobase, back when space travel was in its infancy. The hope was that humanity would be able to discover simple alien life here given the moon's composition and water supply. When that ultimately failed, it was repurposed as a colony research base where scientists and engineers studied how to build colonies on inhospitable worlds. Then, finally, when gravity drives were commonplace and we started finding Earth-like planets, New Homestead was born as a living history community to preserve that past. When our early colonists learned of Earth's demise, they decided to take on the names of their cities of origin as a way to remember their heritage. Now, some may have been lost in translation over the years, and some may have taken it more seriously than others, but the names are mostly accurate. For instance, my family comes from the city of Lyon, in a country that was called France. I am Maurice Lyon, and I am the community elder. As the oldest living citizen at 96, my only job is to keep Earth history alive. I tell stories to the young people and the visitors from other worlds. Although my memory isn't what it used to be, I try my best to get the stories right. Sure, I'd love to. There was once a war so big that they say all of the world was involved. This was actually the second time it happened. They fought because a terrible man named Hitler rose to power and slaughtered many innocents. Millions were lost. Even the colony war pales in comparison. Why, certainly. It's what I do. There was a time when huge monstrosities called dinosaurs ruled over Earth, long before humans existed. They were similar to some of the larger life forms you might see elsewhere in the settled systems. Their reign ended when I can never remember if it was a comet, an asteroid, or a meteor that hit the Earth. Whatever it was, it nearly wiped out most of the life at that time. Let me think of a good one. A long time ago, thousands of years, humans built a wall so large it spanned the northern length of one of Earth's largest empires, China. They called it the Great Wall of China, and it was meant to keep out invading hordes. If I recall correctly, it didn't always work as well as they had hoped. I'll have to look it up again. Memory's not what it once was. Of course, certainly. We have several items in our collection that we rotate in and out over time, but they all originate from the same place, Earth. We have everything from toys to antique technology to sports memorabilia. We even used to have an old Earth vehicle, but we had to sell it when we ran out of space for it. Most of our collection was donated by fellow Earth enthusiasts and historians who felt it belonged close to the homeland here in the Sol system.
Why, hello there! I'm Bill Starsap of Starsap Tours. Let me tell you, this place is full of history and interesting facts. For instance, did you know that New Homestead was one of the first colonies established outside of Earth? It's been populated in some capacity for over 200 years.
I cannot overstate.
Well, there's plenty more where that came from if you're interested in taking one of my famous tours. So what do you say? I've got an opening. I could take you on a tour right now if you'd like. Definitely check out the Brown Horse Tavern. Good food, great atmosphere. Avoid spending too much time outdoors. It's freezing out there. Any more than that, and well, I'd be giving away the tour for free. Why would I want a tour of New Homestead, he says. Well, let me tell you, New Homestead is living history. These people are direct descendants of some of the first settlers to leave Earth. If you've ever wanted to know what that early colonial life was like, this is your chance to embark on a fun-filled exhibition unlike any other. None taken. I get it all the time. If you think it sounds made up, well, that's because it is. I come from an eccentric family. Back in the early days of space travel, generations ago, my ancestors were really into science fiction. They wanted a name that seemed like it fit into the stories they grew up with, so they changed their last name, and the Starsap family name was born. Used to be Bramblefoot before that. Their ancestors liked a different type of fiction. Excellent! You won't regret it! My tours are one of a kind! Now, there's just the matter of price. The going rate for a genuine StarSap tour is only 100 credits. Great! Let's get this show on the road, eh? All right, so this is New Homestead's main concourse. This underground area didn't exist when the original outpost, Titan Astrobase, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live. Now remember, these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astrobase lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here, but more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me. Have any questions so far? The original Titan Astrobase had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled, the perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony. Any questions about the farms? Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet.
Thanks, Papa.
These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hardy root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there. They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astrobase. Sadly, they're undergoing some light renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here. Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan Astrobase biolabs. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to mention that. That's what this place was originally called. When NASA divested its interest in the Astrobase and turned it over to the people back in 2185, they renamed it New Homestead and established it as a historical site. Funny you should ask. Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage. You got it. On to our next stop. Next, we'll be heading outside, so make sure to check those seals on your suit because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Powering New Homestead. As you might imagine, generating energy was a real challenge back in the day because the technology was much more crude then. But crude or not, it was that technology that sustained the old Astrobase. And it might surprise you to learn that the same technology is still working today. The interesting thing about this old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right, New Homestead's famous wind farms. This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? You're looking at a piece of history. Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it for hundreds of years. It's impressive that was all they had back then, and still make it work to this day. Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, the altitude and other conditions are perfect for sustained wind power. Like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you go, the windier it gets. You're the boss. Let's go! Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of this stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world, though of course stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. She had this gorgeous, I don't know what you'd call it, creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and Almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They have this whole moon here basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled systems. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions. Questions? Fire away! Exports mostly, since this world is so methane rich and has the infrastructure for it, a lot of the UC's methane comes from Titan. Of course, new homesteaders use it themselves for everything from generating heat to turning it into breathable oxygen by a modern science. Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Something to do with methane-eating microbes, I believe? I honestly don't know. Sorry. It's not as if they shut down for a month. It's not shut down at all, actually. See, this place is built with redundant systems, so they can shut it down piece by piece and suffer only a reduction in throughput. During that time, the UC gets more of its resources from other places, allowing New Homestead to maintain what it needs. Okie dokie, artichoke. There will be time for more later anyway. So, this next stop is a bit of an interesting one. I only recently made it part of the tour. Fun fact, it's also the only natural landmark on the tour. What we're about to see is a glacial spire we affectionately call Ymir's Horn. This colus used to be named after a character in a popular fantasy novel, but it was changed a couple hundred years ago to avoid any potential litigation. Now, what's a colus, you might say? Colus derives from the Latin word for hill, and scientists only gave names to groups of hills on a planet's surface. So in reality, the term you hear more often is the plural, coles, with an E. You probably don't hear it very often where you're from, because it was usually a term reserved for unexplored planets, back when they didn't have the technology to describe what they were seeing firsthand. Because of that, the term is much more common in the Sol system, but you may still hear it occasionally in reference to uncharted worlds. This planet's full of them, though, and they like to preserve that history here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. How about that? You really know your stuff. Maybe you should be the one giving the tour. I kid. I'm not sure. I heard someone say that before. Something about the worn-down remains of an ancient volcano producing ice via steam? I don't know. It sounds like you understand this stuff better than I do. According to ancient Norse mythology, Ymir was the first Jotun, a frost giant. In the legend, they were both male and female and gave birth to the progenitors of all giants from their armpits. Ymir even predated the Norse gods, who, as it turns out, killed Ymir to fashion the earth and all of humanity from the corpse. It's a fascinating story, and the horn here is a fitting tribute to it. Excellent! On to the next stop, then! So, we're gonna head back inside, through the methane processing plant. Try not to touch anything on your way. We want to make sure to respect Dr. Lakota's wishes to be safer around here. Ah, that brings me to another point. You'll notice the people around here have last names related to where their families originated from on Earth, as a way to remember the past. The museum curator, Maurice Leon, has more information about that if you're interested. You can find him inside the main concourse. Loves talking about it. You'll find most of the locals here are very friendly to tourists like yourself. Tourism is a major draw to this colony these days, and I respect that. Most of them are happy to talk at length about what they do here. Their rugged lifestyle is a point of pride for a lot of these folks. This area we're walking through is the nerve center of the plant, where technicians keep an eye on the operation. Since methane production is such an important part of the colony's livelihood, it's important that the techs notice any issues and react to them quickly. Anyway, we're headed into the ice mines. It's a natural spring where water bubbles up from deep below, but due to the cold, it keeps freezing as it reaches the surface. What else can I tell you about the ice mines? Not all. Some water is created as a byproduct of methane processing, but that's usually saved in the emergency reserves. Good question. I believe it has something to do with not wanting to contaminate the water with methane and other chemicals. The ice helps prevent impurities in the water. At least this is what I've been told. I wouldn't recommend it. First, it's an active work site. Second, it still needs to be filtered and checked for contaminants. But don't worry, we'll stop somewhere for refreshments before the tour is over. Sounds good. Let's keep going then. We have just one more stop before we're done with the tour, and it just happens to be my favorite. This colony is home to the longest running establishment still in existence, the Brown Horse Tavern. The Brown Horse started as a simple mess hall for the scientists and workers when the underground was built, but it's been operated by the same family ever since. Now, what's a horse, you might say? They were a large four-legged animal on Earth, often used for transportation or manual labor. Long before space travel was even a dream for the folks of Earth, even before antique machines like automobiles were possible, horses could be found everywhere. You might have seen them in old movies or read about them somewhere. If not, I highly recommend looking into them sometime. They're beautiful animals. The tavern's original owner was infatuated with them from what I understand, and named the place in their honor. The moniker, Brown Horse Tavern, is also a throwback to names of similar Earth restaurants hundreds of years before it was established. That delicious smell is making me hungry. Can I answer anything about the Brown Horse? Easy. All the other ones fell to ruin when we abandoned Earth. There were technically older ones on Mars, but those have long since shuttered or been replaced. Ooh, that's a tough one. I honestly love everything Anya serves here. I'd be doing her a disservice to recommend one dish over another. You want the real answer? Order one of everything. Anya Seattle is the current owner of the Brown Horse. It's been in the Seattle family for generations. But Anya will be able to tell you more herself. Feel free to ask her. It doesn't feel right coming from me when she's standing right over there. Okay then. All right, we're headed to the last stop. Right back where we began. Feel free to check out the museum exhibit in the main concourse here. These displays are full of rare Earth trinkets salvaged from before humanity left, and Maurice is happy to talk about the collection. The museum's curator, Maurice, will be happy to talk to you if you want to know more. Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed Starsap Tours as much as I enjoy giving them. Oh, wow. I really appreciate it. You know, I rely on tips from good people like you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy the rest of your stay in New Homestead.
The old guy deserves it. This new homestead's a hoot.
Take care!